Hey focused learners, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're taking a deep dive into the actual mechanics of digital visual communication. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're just scrolling through your feed, minding your own business, and boom, you are stopped dead in your tracks by an image that absolutely screams for your attention. But have you ever wondered how exactly those images work? Like, how do they manipulate visual language to make us feel something so instantly? Well, today we are going to unpack exactly how digital sensationalism is constructed piece by piece using a single, incredibly vivid source artifact. Let's just jump right in. Claude and ChatGPT are stealing the water and your soul. I mean, wow. Now that is quite the statement. It's this absurd, super high-stakes claim that practically grabs you by the collar. When you read something like that, your brain immediately tries to process the sheer scale of the threat. It combines a completely tangible, physical resource, water, with the ultimate intangible essence of human existence, the soul. It is honestly the perfect hook. Okay, let's dive into this. Just look at the overwhelming entirety of this image. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? This right here is our source artifact for today's explainer, and we are looking at an absolute masterclass in visual overload. We've got apocalyptic landscapes, neon typography, menacing robotics, and just raw human terror all crammed into a single frame. The goal here absolutely isn't nuance. The goal is shock. It is literally designed to stop your thumb from scrolling. But to really understand its impact, we can't just look at the whole shebang, we need to dissect it. So, moving to section 1, the anatomy of AI panic, let's treat this like a digital archaeological find. First up, direct your eyes down to the bottom left corner. Notice the screaming man anchored right there. His face is contorted in absolute raw terror. His hand is reaching out, maybe in defense or maybe just pure desperation. And look at what he's actually standing on. It's cracked, lifeless, completely barren earth. This guy is our human anchor in the image. Before your brain even has time to process the giant text or the robots, you process his fear. It creates this immediate, visceral human reaction against a backdrop of complete environmental devastation. And when we start systematically cataloging the chaos happening in this frame, we find a carefully curated list of sci-fi and horror tropes. I mean, we've got purple lightning storms raging in the background, we have the cracked, barren earth we just talked about. Towering above are these giant, menacing robotic overlords. We've got screaming human victims, and of course, swirling, glowing energy portals. Every single one of these elements is basically a shortcut to anxiety. They're pre-packaged visual triggers that movies and pop culture have totally conditioned us to associate with the end of the world. By cramming them all together like this, the creator is essentially manufacturing an immediate sense of doom. That brings us to section 2, the literal claim, focusing on water. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is if we zoom in on the industrial complex, you'll notice this specific detail right here. A glowing neon sign that explicitly reads, "Data centers thirst for more." This is exactly where the sensationalized image anchors itself to a real-world literal claim. It's actually calling out the physical resource consumption of massive computing facilities. So it takes this highly abstract tech concept and forcefully grounds it in a very real industrial reality. And look at how it literalizes that environmental anxiety right at the top of the image. We see the super recognizable corporate logos for Claude and ChatGPT, but they aren't just innocent software icons anymore. The image transforms them into these menacing, heavy industrial machines. They look like brutalist fortresses with massive, glowing eyes. And the kicker? They have these enormous pipe-like mouths that are just guzzling, or actually scratch that, they're pouring out massive torrents of water. It takes invisible code and turns it into a giant, mechanical, resource-draining monstrosity. So beneath this incredibly dramatic comic book art style lies a genuine, literal anxiety, the environmental cost of computation. The image is actually tapping into real-world discussions we're having right now about the vast amounts of water and electricity required to cool and run the servers that power these advanced AI models. It takes a hugely complex logistical issue and turns it into a vivid, terrifying visual. Okay, pivoting to section 3, the metaphorical claim. Let's talk about souls. We really need to clearly contrast the two halves of this argument. On one hand, we just deconstructed the literal tangible fear, right? Water consumption and physical data centers. That's a real environmental threat. But on the flip side, the image pushes an entirely intangible fear: the stealing of souls, glowing energy portals, and the fundamental loss of humanity. I mean, that is a massive leap from standard resource management to completely metaphorical existential dread. And this brilliantly illustrates that leap right on the bottom right corner. Notice the glowing, translucent blue figure down there? It's basically a visual representation of a spirit or a soul. And it's being violently siphoned off, literally sucked backward into a swirling dark purple portal attached to the industrial machinery. It is a literal depiction of an entirely figurative concept. What we are looking at here is pure, intangible anxiety. This specific imagery completely bypasses logic and taps directly into a deeper, much less quantifiable human fear. It's the existential threat of artificial intelligence. It's that nagging fear that technology isn't just going to use up our natural resources, but that it's actually going to replace us, diminish our humanity, or consume our core human essence. It's a really powerful, primal fear, brilliantly weaponized through this artwork. Which leads us perfectly into section 4, the mechanics of sensationalism. What we're dealing with here is a textbook example of visual hyperbole. This is the use of wildly exaggerated, dramatic imagery designed specifically to provoke strong emotional reactions and demand your absolute immediate attention. In visual hyperbole, nuance is entirely thrown out the window for the sake of impact. The goal isn't to start a rational debate, The goal is to make you gasp. And you can see this hyperbole most clearly in the typography of outrage used here. Just look at the text. It's massive, it's heavily shadowed so it pops in 3D, and it is fully capitalized. Also, notice the highly deliberate color choices. The names Claude and ChatGPT are stark white and mint green, but the active verb, the actual threat, stealing, is this visceral blood red. Water is a vibrant cyan, and your soul jumps out at you in electric yellow. These aren't just random aesthetic choices, they are highly calculated psychological triggers engineered for maximum clickbait potential. Let's move along and see how this all builds into a highly repeatable formula. Because this artifact gives us an exact step-by-step recipe for hijacking attention spans. Step 1, trigger existential dread, show a literal soul being sucked away. Step 2, ground it in physical fear, show the barren, cracked earth. Step 3, apply recognizable targets. Slap those Claude and ChatGPT logos right onto the monsters. And finally, Step 4, demand immediate visual attention through bright, aggressive, high-contrast typography. It is quite literally a systematic escalation of panic. Bringing our explainer full circle today, let's look at the entire image one last time. We've deconstructed the screaming man, the corporate robots, the stolen soul, and the neon text. Now that we've totally taken it apart, we can clearly see the synthesized artifact for what it truly is, a masterclass in modern digital outrage farming. It is this perfect, highly saturated mirror reflecting our most complex, modern digital anxieties right back at us in the simplest, most terrifying way possible. Which leaves us with a pretty crucial question to ponder as we wrap things up. As you go about scrolling through your feeds, today, tomorrow, whenever, I want you to keep this image in the back of your mind. When you are confronted with this kind of intense digital hyperbole, are you actively consuming the media, or is the sensationalism quietly consuming your perspective? Thank you so much for joining me today, Focus Learners. Keep asking questions, keep analyzing what's in front of you, and I will catch you on the next Explainer.